Hello everyone, Josh here again, and I welcome you again to COE. So today's video is about being fit for survival. Now, I do not know how many of you remembered in Trinidad the really big earthquake that we got that kind of shook us up, gave some people some PTSD, and had them, feeling every little thing shaking. You how somebody bounced the table, you suddenly feel, wait, it's another one we getting? Yeah, I remember that one too. I was in a very vulnerable position. I was going into the what you call like a sensory deprivation pod, and it was a very scary experience. And one of the first things I was thinking about, man, if some bricks start falling on me, what am I going to do? And would I be able to kind of push myself out if people couldn't get to me in time? And I was thinking about that, and also in preparing for this video, I was also thinking about how when we had friggin' mosquito. Yeah. So I was also thinking about that time when we had a really big flooding almost throughout the entire country, and people, I think for the first time I could have remembered, people had to be on top of their roofs. And I was thinking to myself, to some extent these people had some level of physical fitness that could have gotten them out of those situations instead of drowning. Unfortunately, we didn't really have any deaths. So I did this video to just kind of highlight the necessity of being fit for survival situations. Just because we do not experience these things on a regular basis doesn't mean that we should not have it in our life's toolkit to be ready for survival. So I'll get right into it. So some of the things that I realize that people need, one is to be able to survive off of a certain amount of calories per day. Now, the average person consumes, or their body lives off of 2,000 calories or so on average. Now, in times of hardship, people will inevitably live on less amounts of calories. And if your body is adapted or well adapted to be able to survive off, let's say, about 1,500 calories, that means you can have the kind of longevity you need to survive, so that when things get back to normal, you would have survived long enough for that period. So I think it's good to be intermittently, once in a while, eat less calories, see how your body adapts, and try to make sure that your body is well adapted to that form of survival. So the second thing that I want to talk about is being able to carry around 30 pounds anywhere. 30 pounds on a backpack, and being able to carry it for a reasonable amount of time. Now, I know a lot of people can do hiking, like real hiking with backpacks for like 8 to 10 hours a day. Now, our ancestors, needing to go and hunt, had to go and grab some animal that they killed to go feed their family, but the amount of time that it took them to get there, and then having had expended energy, having to throw extra weight and carry it back to cook, that called for some resilience, some endurance, and some strength. So I think that for us to be able to survive, if the time comes, that we should be able to carry about 30 pounds. 30 pounds is like carrying a child for 10 hours. Can the average person do that on a regular basis? So the next thing I want to talk about, can you lift a 7-gallon container of water? That's enough water to last you a reasonable period of time, and carry it for, like, let's say 100 feet. Now, 7 gallons of water would last you a decent amount of time, but getting it from point A to point B is another thing. So you might go harvest water, and you might need to, I don't know, carry it through some treacherous terrain, that just going to be like a real headache. That's like about 55 pounds. I mean, carrying it on our own bodies is one thing. Like if you have a backpack, or if you have some extra pounds on your body, that's one thing. But to carry a like dead weight like that, that's going to be problematic. So for me, I know I like to train to move with weight, and there are different ways. You know, people could do farmers walks. That's like holding dumbbells on your sides and walking for a distance, just to strengthen your ligaments and strengthen, you know, your trap muscles, so that you can comfortably do it when you need to. The other thing that I think that people overlook is being able to drag a person for, let's say, another 100 feet or 200 feet. The average person weighs about 150 pounds, I'm guessing. I could probably do some research and figure that out. But being able to drag a person to safety, let's say a series of cars got into an accident and cars start catching a fire, and then there's like a chain reaction of explosion, and let's say you have to drag a person out because you're not able to throw them on your back like a fireman, but being able to be carrying a person away from a burning building or through a burning building from where it might be burning and where it's not burning, carrying them to safety, are you able to do that? These are things that I think the average citizen should be cognizant of. Now, another thing that I have looked at, and I always remember having to run from a dog that got away in the neighborhood, being able to climb a wall. I do not know how many of you can climb over a car, or just the average height of the average sedan that we might have. I think it would be wise to know that you can be able to do that with the greatest of ease. So training for agility and training for some flexibility that can carry your foot. Now, I know a lot of people, well, maybe not a lot, but some people may not be able to do that based on their physical limitations, but you should be able to pull yourself up and, you know, lift your leg over something that could get you out of a threat zone. So here's another thing, being able to jog on an unpaved, uneven road. Now, if an earthquake happens and let's say in the city or in an urban environment or semi-rural environment, the ground is going to be quite uneven, and having proper footwear may not be readily available, but you might be in heels, you might be in your office shoes, but if you end up being barefoot, or you know, an incident happens at the worst possible time, just imagine having to navigate uneven terrain with asphalt and pieces of gravel sticking out and glass. Are you able to do that? This is something to consider. Now, this is why people have created like these cross-trainer shoes, so that you can move from walking on flat surfaces and being able to navigate terrain that's quite uneven. So, but being physically fit to navigate that terrain calls for certain levels of, you know, ankle flexibility and making sure that your knees are in working order. I know a lot of people don't have that, but if it's something that you can work on, you should work on it. So this leads me to another point that is a bit uncomfortable for me to talk about, but like swimming. Now, I know that we're surrounded, being on an island, by a lot of water, but the average person just goes to the beach just to lime and chill. We like to go to the river. Now, I know that swimming for a distance, being able to swim for a distance to get to safety is a necessary thing, but a lot of us can't even tread water. I personally am not very good at treading water, but I know I will swim to survive. I've been in situations where I was near drowning, and the thing is, I learned a fundamental thing from watching babies, knowing how to flip yourself and like a baby, so that at least you could float on your back just by knowing how to stick your hip up, just like actively sticking your hip up to level your body off in the water. Now, that is a essential skill to, I think you should be able to master. But for the most part, I think with the kind of floodings that we saw, if you are not able to do something as simple as that, you could be in a real sticky situation. We are still in the rainy season and water could come at any time. Right, yeah, video cut off there, but that's okay. We adapt to suit. So yeah, being in a situation where water is all over the place, you need to be able to do that skill. Right, so here's the next thing. So being able to survive requires some daily activities that keep your fitness up to a certain level. Most of us live a sedentary lifestyle where we just sitting down in this angle with our bodies to the shape of our chair, but we don't have the flexibility to get into awkward positions that we may need to when you have to pick a rock up off of someone that a building fell on them and put it somewhere else. It calls for an entire unusual bodily motion that we don't really train for on an average basis. But these are the kinds of dynamic situations that people will get themselves in if there's like a natural disaster or if you get into an accident. Being able to do that, I think there are some simple things that we could do on a regular basis. So one of the things I would say is that if you could get into gardening at home, just, bending down and reaching some unusual angles can help our hip flexors loosen up a bit so that it would not cramp up on us when we need to lift something even heavier. Now, I know a lot of us may not be in that kind of healthy position to do these things, but still work on resolving your issues as early as possible, because you don't want to be subjected to the hardships of the situation and then you're the ultimate victim of adversity that life has thrown at you. So here's the second thing I want to talk about. Now, I would say yes, go to the gym and lift heavy objects and do all that, but given we have the lockdown again, and a lot of places, a lot of other countries as well, limiting their society's population movement, we still have our physical bodies. Now, it's one thing to be able to lift a heavy object, but if you cannot lift your own body, you're going to be in serious problems when you need it. And if there are other people around you who aren't able to lift heavy objects, then you could end up realizing everybody's pretty much screwed. So here's the thing. Just get your body moving. Keep moving on a regular basis. Even if it's to do what I have done is get like about 8,000 to 10,000 steps a day just to manage my weight so that I can carry myself with the greatest of ease if I need to do it in a real stressful situation. Adrenaline can only carry me so far, but it's the conditioning of my body's strength and endurance and resilience, and of course building a bad mind enough to be able to work myself through a problematic event. A lot of us don't have the motivation to work on our own, so pull up your friends on Skype, Zoom, a WhatsApp video, your FaceTime, whatever it is, and go through like a little 15-minute circuit with your friends. Just do like a half an hour workout a day. Right, so one other thing is that I like to talk about is making sure that you eat healthy enough. Now, to me, a healthy diet, not something that is temporary, but a healthy eating lifestyle is like an insurance plan for when you're in your older days, when you'll be most vulnerable in your life. And your family could be even more vulnerable when you're not in your youth and you have the vigor to take care of them when the situation comes. So eating a healthy diet, I'm just estimating 90% of your diet should be coming from whole foods, home cooked meals, things that are well nutritionally balanced than, eating, a bunch of junk food. I like chocolate, I like cake, I like snacks just as much as everyone else, but I try to keep it to a minimum because optimally I want to be able to perform when I need to perform. And your body is feeding off of what you feed it, and the best nutritional sources comes from eating good meals, basically. So eat your ground provision, get your callaloo, and eat your beans, get your proteins and whatnot, and be fit for survival that way. So the final thing I want to talk about is making sure that you get enough sleep. Now, I know a lot of us, given this time, our sleep cycles have gone haywire. People are up all 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I mean, some people still have to get back up early too, but it's just something weird happening to us psychologically that, you know, we basically just becoming nocturnal animals. But for the most part, trying to get that 7 to 8 hours of sleep, or getting as much sleep as you needed, it may be less or more than that. It could make sure that your body could recover if you're staying physically fit and have a constant routine for fitness, just at least for survival. If you don't get enough sleep, your body is going to get some form of degradation in some form or factor with the healing process, and you're just going to be miserable. So anyway, guys, this has been my video on this topic. Staying fit for survival is really being the crux and the real core of why I keep a fitness regime. If not for aesthetics, just to look sexy walking down the street or whatnot. I know that if the time is called upon me, I should be able to function to some level of, you know, capable response and be the competent person within my group of friends and family that I could be depended on. It will be a good thing that you could be a person that people could depend on when that time arises. If the threats, if the dangerous risks are upon you, you're able to see your way through that adversity just by being physically fit. So I thank you for watching. So don't forget, like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. Share the video with your friends, have discussions about these things. And yeah, that's all I have to say about that. So thanks for watching. I'll talk to you in the next one.